intercepted them at a Popeyes drive-through. So it was a man and a woman that stole this vehicle, a customer's car at that dealership in Santa Monica. I'm sure that somebody at that point in time from the dealership called 911, and they were able to track that car to a Popeyes drive-in. We do not have the location, but that's when LAPD Southwest Division then started the pursuit. We understand they have since backed off because of the dangerous speeds at which he's driving.
110, it looked like almost up to 120. This is way too fast, obviously. There's speeding and then there's just reckless driving, and this is really, really scary to see. At least they're slowing down here at the intersection, but they're not stopping, and this could end really dangerously. So we want to keep that in mind and just make sure that we're on top of that on our end, because we don't want to show anything on our air that we really don't want to see. But this is really a dangerous situation. They still, even without the black and white behind them, Jeff, obviously feel emboldened to drive this way.
Well, you see it appears the willy-nilly nature of the way he's driving. He doesn't know exactly what to do and still thinks maybe he's being tailed, and it got up to 100. That was the highest speeds that we'd seen in this pursuit, was over 100 miles per hour on this surface street. And of course, you would not be able to control it if somebody pulled out in front of you and put on the brakes. And there's all kinds of things that can happen going that fast.
Yeah, this is heading down La Cienega, passing Stalker Street. They're in Ladera Heights still. They were in this area a little bit earlier when we first brought you this pursuit here live on CBSN Los Angeles. But we do know that not only has LAPD pulled back from the ground, they actually have pulled their helicopter off the pursuit as well. So that could suggest that they have enough information about these people that they feel confident that they can catch up to them later in some capacity. They may know who they are, they may not. This is not their vehicle. Again, Jeff, we are reporting on the unusual circumstances of the beginning of this pursuit, stolen from someone visiting a car dealership in Santa Monica.
You know, we started this pursuit just about 6:45, but 4:45 was when they got the first call, so that was 2 hours into it. So it's 2 hours plus in this pursuit of this driver wanted for a stolen vehicle. We understand a man and a woman were the suspects in that. The man is behind the wheel of this Subaru Forester right now. LAPD at one point in time was in pursuit, got into the turning lane as we take a live look here, and made some aggressive maneuvers to get out of that situation there. We almost had to stop. But we have seen the driver go through red lights, stop signs, over 100 miles an hour, lose control, go up onto the sidewalk, and get really close to pedestrians and crosswalks of some major intersections, and also through residential areas. As they're now continuing south, Cienega Boulevard, this is going to be in Crenshaw now.
Yeah, this is pretty close to Baldwin Hills if you're familiar with this area, heading down La Cienega right here. Lots of shopping here, retailers, all kinds of businesses, obviously residential area there too, even though La Cienega and now Jefferson are both very busy surface streets and major thoroughfares in Los Angeles. This person, despite the fact that the chase has formally been called off, meaning that LAPD is not on the ground following them or in the air, we're told, they're still driving pretty quickly, but kind of going in circles and not really heading anywhere from what we can tell.
I kind of get the feeling this driver doesn't really know what he's doing or where he's going, and just kind of improvising.
Yeah,
and it appears to be speeding up. And you know, the old term, drive it like you stole it, seems to be what he's doing at 100 miles an hour on surface streets, and now at about 58, 60 miles an hour. Seemed to have calmed down just a bit, if you can believe that, because we're talking about the highest speeds were after LAPD pulled back, but appears to be less aggressive when it comes to going into other people's lanes, although he's weaving through traffic there on this Friday night. National Boulevard and Culver City now is going to be the scene of this latest pursuit. Taking a right-hand turn here, there's a pedestrian coming to a full stop. That is the first time I've seen this driver come to a full stop at an intersection.
You know, they could get on the 10 freeway if they wanted to and head out of this area, but we really haven't seen much of that. And I imagine there is some traffic in that stretch of the 10. Even though I've driven down the 10 freeway heading westbound towards Santa Monica a couple of days during rush hour, although traffic is heavier going the other direction, eastbound into the city. And it's actually, traffic is pretty light, and you can attribute that to the pandemic and a lot of people staying at home. But this person has been pretty averse to freeway driving, Jeff.
Yeah, got on the 110 at one point in time and then quickly got off. Now, there was a little bit of traffic on the 110 at the time, so you wonder if that was the reason why. But you just really don't ever understand and get in the mind of a driver like this as to what they're doing. You know, it's a situation where they're driving very fast. It's a stolen vehicle. Police behind at one point in time, the aggressive driving. There's another pedestrian just a few feet away as they go through yet another red light. It seems his MO is, Sarah, he gets up to an intersection of a red light, takes the right-hand lane and kind of pretends to make a right-hand turn and then just goes back left into that lane of traffic to avoid the light, but still nonetheless blowing through these lights at 50, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, heading down Venice Boulevard now. And streets are pretty wide open here, actually, not super busy right now. And this is actually probably some of the calmest driving that we've seen in the last 20 minutes or so. So they may feel confident that they don't have police pursuing them. They probably do know that there are helicopters overhead. Obviously, there are media helicopters in the sky, but far enough away. Media helicopters don't fly as low as law enforcement does, and they don't fly in the same manner as law enforcement does. So it certainly would be a lot more obvious if there was an LAPD chopper overhead. But as we're seeing right now, there doesn't seem to be. Venice Boulevard and Keystone now really kind of still doing what they've been doing, Jeff, for the past couple of minutes.
You know, you got to ask yourself, well, what was the reason why they de-escalated this? There could be a number of reasons. Obviously, he was going at very, very high speeds through these surface streets, very aggressive driving. That might be a reason why that they de-escalated, hoping that the driver would calm down. We see that a little bit, but maybe they have more information. I mean, as police get to the scene and get information from eyewitnesses and whatnot, they intercepted the vehicle at a Popeyes drive-through. Obviously, there'll be a number of eyewitnesses there. Maybe they are actually able to identify who it is and have information. And we know that in the past they have let these people go, if you will, because they know where they might be able to find him. Or her at some point in time, so that might be the situation here.
They should be coming up to the 405 right there. I don't think they're getting on the freeway. It looks like they're maybe heading past it. There's the 405, so they're going under the 405. I believe they could have gotten on there a couple blocks down to the freeway, but that doesn't look like what they're doing. And a pretty wide open 405, I should say. I suppose just seeing some of these freeways as light as they are on Friday, even at 7 o'clock, is always remarkable to me. It shocks me every time I see it. Now they're in Mar Vista.
And what a coincidence, as he went underneath the 405, one of our live trucks was going overhead on the 405. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But we got a chopper, of course. This is CBSN as we are live here in LA as we continue to follow this police pursuit of a driver wanted for a stolen vehicle driving a Subaru Forester. LAPD at one point in time in pursuit, and they have since backed off to, we think, de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, so they're heading down Venice Boulevard, actually toward Venice. This ends there down at the beach by the boardwalk. So we'll have to see what they do if they continue heading in this direction. I don't know that they know where they're going yet. They may, and they're just sort of
Doesn't seem like it.
Driving. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like it. It doesn't seem like there's a clear end game here. Like you said, Jeff, it just seems like they're just driving around and trying to get law enforcement off of their tail. But unusual circumstances as to how this pursuit started.
Well, you know, this is a situation with so many of them. This is not necessarily something they plan out. Maybe it was a crime of opportunity and they saw that opportunity to steal this car and then had no other plan beyond that. And he's just driving around. I mean, it just seems like that's what they're doing, this driver especially. We've seen this time and time again in these police pursuits where they basically just kind of go around and around and around, have no idea as to what they're doing, and just trying to get out of a bad situation, I'm sure.
Yeah, still going pretty fast. This 50, 55 down Venice Boulevard in Mar Vista, heading toward the coast actually now. They crossed underneath the 405 freeway, which really would have been one of the few opportunities for them to get back on the freeway, of course. They could turn down Lincoln or head up to the 10 freeway on one of those surface streets, and the 10 could take them pretty far out of this area if they were heading eastbound. But we really haven't seen them doing that yet. They're just sort of hanging out and driving around, and we'll have to see if officers decide to catch up with them. At some point, they might get help from a surrounding city if they leave LA city limits.
Let me see here. I might have some new information. We're just, nope, that's the latest information we have. LAPD at one point in time chasing a stolen vehicle that started in LAPD Southwest Division at a Popeyes drive-through after calls into 911 of a man and a woman stealing a Subaru Forester at a Santa Monica dealership, but it's not a car on the lot. They actually stole that vehicle from a customer. So this is a customer's car in for repair, service, whatever the case may be at that Santa Monica dealership. And driving, we understand the male behind the wheel, but we're not certain if the female, his accomplice, is in the vehicle or not.
Right. And, if it was in the service area of one of those car dealerships, it's entirely possible that they had pretty close security video, and they may be able to review that to get a better idea of who they were. They may have been on the lot, prior to that for some period of time. Jeff, you would think a crime like this required some planning. You mentioned it could have been spontaneous, which
Sure.
it could have been. It could have been sort of opportunistic, but a lot of times the service area is sort of set back
Yeah.
deep into these dealerships, so they could have been hanging around for a while before this happened. We just don't know, but you can bet that LAPD is interviewing the victims of this crime, the people who own that car, and the people who were there at the service department in the dealership. Usually there's a couple people hanging around trying
Right,
to help
absolutely.
customers, so presumably people could have seen exactly what happened.
Well, you could see how it'd be very easy to steal a car at a dealership if you're dropping off a vehicle for service and leaving the keys in there, and if somebody is observing this and watching it, and as it appears this man and woman were doing to get into this vehicle, coming to a complete stop, which is something we haven't seen a whole lot, making a right-hand turn that
There's
appears to
Lincoln.
be, appears to be just a lawful right-hand turn, coming to a stop in that lane as they're now proceeding on Lincoln Boulevard. This is going to be now in Venice.
Yeah, so heading northbound, and if they keep heading northbound down Lincoln, they could get on the 10 freeway at some point, or they could just head up the coast there at PCH. But we really don't know. It's kind of been hard to guess as to what this person plans on doing here.
So, the
because-
vehicle was stolen, we understand from that Santa Monica dealership. And Sarah, if this continues to go, he's going to be right back in Santa Monica.
Yeah, he could be back
Just
in
make it
Santa
a big
Monica.
circle, which happens quite a bit when we do these pursuits. You wonder why they continue to make these circles. But I just got to think that they didn't have a plan. They just kind of winging it. And this is maybe an area that's familiar to them.
Yeah, it could be crossing Palms Boulevard there, heading up Lincoln. So if they do end up in Santa Monica, you can bet that Santa Monica Police is aware of this situation right now. They may pick it up. They may choose to pick it up for LAPD, or they may not. We really don't know. We'll have to kind of see. But, a lot of times these situations, law enforcement talks to each other. LAPD works with agencies across the county, really, because of just how big the city of LA is and some of the cities contained sort of in and around it. So, they a lot of times will talk to Santa Monica Police, to other police departments in the area to try and get help and communicate and let them know what's coming.
Okay, well, the vehicle now is down to about 40 miles an hour, which would probably be about the speed limit there, just to be guessing about that. But I can tell you, one point in time was up above 100 miles an hour. We saw him routinely going 90. There's an aggressive move against traffic, going through that red light, taking a left-hand turn. So we continue to see aggressive driving from this man behind the wheel of this stolen vehicle. But at one point in time, lost control, went off onto a sidewalk going, once again, going into oncoming traffic. So
Sort of bizarre because,
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
they must know that there's nobody immediately behind them at this point. They just seem to be driving quickly for the heck of it. We just heard from Santa Monica Police. We're talking about mutual aid and departments helping each other out. Santa Monica Police says to us that they don't plan on joining this pursuit unless something changes. And of course, anything could happen in these scenarios. But it does sound, at least from that piece of news, that they have been talking to LAPD and they are aware of the situation, since this person is getting pretty close to city limits in terms of city of Santa Monica.
that was a pretty good shot there. We saw the driver, and sometimes in situations like this where it appears they have no real plan and they're just kind of driving around, they might be on a cell phone. I don't see that. In this case, I see the driver's left arm on the wheel. I'm trying to see if there was any sort of movement in there, but you can definitely see the man behind the wheel in the white shirt, but I don't see that there's anything showing that they may be in communication, because sometimes you think that they're trying to figure something out and talk to somebody to drop off the vehicle or to bail or have support somehow, but I can't say that I see that happening right now. Not that it isn't, but just it's not obvious.
Yeah, I really can't tell, and maybe somebody at home has a better angle on this, but I really can't tell that there's anybody in the passenger seat. It doesn't look like there is right now.
Hitting some traffic for sure. This is going to be Venice at Rose Avenue, taking a right-hand turn. Likes those right-hand turns. And, I don't know if he had his arm up there.
It's
Or is
just
that
really
just on
hard
the
to
wheel?
tell. It looks like the back windows are tinted too. It doesn't look like there's a lot of tint in the front. But you know, Venice, a lot of outdoor dining happening, people hanging out outside, a lot of people walk in this area, so, you know, a lot of people on the streets. I suppose the one piece of good news here, Jeff, is that this person has seemed to calm down a little bit, where they're actually obeying some of the traffic laws and slowing down on some of these surface streets.
We'll take what we can get. At least it's half of what he was doing before. And as you mentioned, it's
they're
a
in
beautiful
Santa
night,
Monica.
so a lot of people could be out. We know coronavirus is keeping people at home and whatnot, but you know, we see people out on the sidewalks, and we saw a number of pedestrians and crosswalks. We didn't lose them, did no? Everybody's on the left side.
Yeah, this is Santa Monica now. It looks like he just crossed into city limits. You could tell that the street signs there changed. Santa Monica has, you know, those really bold blue and yellow street signs there, and it's pretty easy to tell when they cross from LA into city limits there in Santa Monica there. This part of town, lots of trees, you know, residential area, pretty quiet, but heading down 4th, crossing Ashland in Santa Monica now.
Okay, we have confirmation that the female who was the you know, a man-woman team that stole this vehicle, the female was in the car at one point in time, but has since been dropped off, if you will. So the female is not in the vehicle. We would maybe think that that was another reason why they de-escalated this. Maybe police have her in custody at this point in time.
Oh,
We don't know, but she is not in the vehicle. It's just the man of a man-woman team that stole this vehicle, who's now behind the wheel of this Subaru Forester.
We might have a hard time seeing here, like I mentioned, a lot of these little neighborhoods in Santa Monica, lots of trees, really pretty area, but obscures our view to kind of see what's going on. But this person actually just stopped for a little while there. I don't know if they're getting their bearings or just trying to figure out what their next move is, but they're back at the original scene of the crime, if you will, at least in the city of Santa Monica, where they allegedly stole this vehicle from a dealership, from somebody who was getting their car repaired at the dealership. Got to feel bad for that person, especially if they're watching this.
I'm getting the feeling that maybe he's trying to decide what to do now. Like
Yeah.
maybe he's going to pull over and get out and try to walk away.
There's Ocean Park, that's a major thoroughfare.
I mean, he came to a complete stop there about a half block back, and I thought for sure maybe he was just going to put it in park and walk away. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the motivation is. They thought they could steal a car and get away with it, and then they'd have a car for the weekend. I mean, this is one of the situations where I mean, what's he doing now? I mean, I have no idea. He's just basically
Ocean
trying
Park.
to figure it out.
Ocean Park would have put him off at the sand.
And
It
so-
ends there, but they're going up and down 4th. So what that runs parallel to the beach there, to the sand, just a couple blocks off of the sand, in fact, if they're still on 4th. But another opportunity for them to get on the 10 freeway and hightail it out of this area, which we have not seen them trying to do.
It seems they're motivated to stay on these city streets. And is his window down now?
Yeah, it
See,
looks
when he
like it.
slowed down, I thought I saw the window. Something's going on here. He is trying to decide what to do. He's rolled his window down. This is a stolen vehicle. The driver behind the wheel stole it from a Santa Monica dealership, as we're back in Santa Monica after going through Hyde Park and a number of cities along the way. This is a 2+ hour police pursuit that LAPD has since backed off for probably the last 20, 25 minutes and are not any longer in active pursuit. But he's starting to slow down. It seems to me, Sarah, he's trying to figure out what his next move is.
Could be on his phone. It's kind of hard to tell. We just kind of see that half inside the car there now that he's got his window open. So 4th and Pico now, turning not down Pico, just heading back up 4th, it looks like, in Santa
Cutting the
Monica.
car off. Yeah.
And lots of people out walking in this area. A lot of people have been coming to Santa Monica, especially on those hotter days, to get out to the beach, to enjoy the cooler weather. I think the other day when it was closer to triple digits inland, it was in the 70s in Santa Monica, and there have been quite a few people on the beach there. So that would be the 10 freeway. And it looks like, let's see what happened. Nope, not getting on the freeway, heading up 4th still, Santa Monica. So passing over the 10 freeway, which would have, if he was heading eastbound, would have put him into LA.
I don't know the address of the dealership. It was at a Popeyes. I would assume it'd be nearby, the drive-through, and that was in Santa Monica. You wonder if there's, how close and how far he is from that location now. I'm trying to get information, but the address of the dealership and whatnot. But
that was we're getting a closer look inside the car now. I think that was the first time that I actually saw the driver pretty clearly here, but just sort of hanging back and maybe figuring out where to go. This pursuit hasn't made a lot of sense in terms of us trying to figure out what the end game here is. where this person
Oh,
plans
I
on
think he is
going.
on his cell phone. I think his right hand is off the wheel. It's up to his right ear. I think he's on the cell phone.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I just saw a good shot of the driver on a cell phone trying to figure this out. This stolen vehicle from a Santa Monica dealership. This is the man of a two-person team, a man and a woman. The woman is not in the vehicle. We don't know exactly what happened there. But the driver behind the wheel appears to be on the phone. You wonder if he's on the phone trying to facilitate an escape here, or
This is too fast for this area. I mean, even though it's in the upper 40s, you know, this 4th Santa Monica Boulevard, that's where a lot of the shopping is, a lot of restaurants, you know, retailers down there. Look at that, just people walking by. So that does make me pretty nervous to see, because looks like he wasn't really stopping where he was supposed to be stopping there. So we'll have to see. Santa Monica Police, Jeff told us a couple minutes ago that they don't plan on joining this pursuit unless something changes. Of course, anything could change in a situation like this, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But they do know about this, and it seems like they have been communicating with LAPD.
And you got to think, if that person decides to bail, the police are obviously nearby and ready to act. And you know, this is a situation where at one point in time it was pretty dangerous, and you didn't want to have anybody injured or hurt. You'd rather have the property damaged or the property stolen, and that's something that can be replaced. And I thought that was a good move on LAPD, at least to de-escalate at that point in time. Going through an intersection with more pedestrians just a few feet away. Is this a highway? Is
Well,
this an on-ramp?
That's, well, this is, it looks like maybe closer to PCH. Well, let's see. California Incline and California Avenue and Ocean, just right there.
That's real close, yeah.
Yeah, near, not too far from the beach in that park there.
So if we could get our helicopter to pan out, would it be to the left would be the ocean, is that right?
So this is the PCH now.
Right.
He's on. So yeah, on the left-hand side
So
would
if
be
we
the
were to
ocean.
pan out,
Yeah.
we'd see the ocean. This is PCH.
Yeah.
So they're going northbound.
Yeah, so they would be heading kind of toward
Right.
Will Rogers and
Right,
toward
right.
Malibu.
That's the vehicle there in the
So
lower right-hand part of
after,
the screen.
yeah, after California Incline, I think is at Beach House Road or Beach
There we
House
go.
Boulevard, right there on the left-hand side. Lots of families visit. I don't know that they've been open during the pandemic, but yeah, so they're heading northbound on PCH. That would mean the ocean would be to the left, and then the hillside there on the right, which we can't quite see, but there's a steep cliff right there on the right-hand side, and then heading northbound up toward Malibu.
Well, speeds in this area, I can tell you, going up and down PCH would be, he's going 36, 39. That's actually probably below what the speed limit is. It's generally about 45, 50, 55 right along there. But so far, if he's trying to blend in, he's doing a pretty good job. He's been driving pretty lawfully within the last, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Has gone through a couple intersections, but nothing like what occurred earlier with speeds of 100 miles per hour through some of these surface streets and blasting through these stop signs and stoplights. And I was so concerned at the speed that he was going, Sarah, that he was going to go through these intersections, and he was blind and hit somebody. And I couldn't believe the luck that didn't happen.
Oh, there's Beach House Way. So I think the community beach house there on the left, like I said, I think there's some parking lots too. So there's some parking lots in between where people park to go to the beach there. And then he's driving toward Will Rogers, which will be on the left. But, you know, I mean, this is a really, really busy thoroughfare, major, runs up and down the California coast here. But a lot of people drive here on any given day. So, yeah, and people speed here too. Jeff, I know you know that. A lot of people speed on PCH.
Sure.
It always scares me because you have, you know, traffic coming so close in the opposite direction, and a lot of people drive really, really fast here.
Well, if they continue this way, they'll head eventually into Malibu, because that's what going north here would be parts of Malibu, which would be a far sight from where they were earlier. As we understand, they just left kind of Santa Monica Pacific Palisades now, but this is a different direction. They were going around in kind of a big circle, and now this would be taken off in a completely other direction. But I think I saw him on the cell phone. So you just wonder if there's some sort of
I thought maybe he
plan.
was smoking, but I
Maybe,
couldn't see. I didn't really get a clear
Getting
shot.
a better look. Great shot here. Oh, he's going to make a right-hand turn.
I mean, there's really nowhere to go left except for beach parking. So if you're gonna go anywhere, you got to keep going northbound, and you'll end up in Malibu, or you're gonna go right and then sort of head inland because there's just no other way to go. But still, Jeff, we don't see police above or on the ground, so they're not joining this. They must feel pretty confident with the situation, or just a little bit concerned about how this person was driving before.
Well, at this point in time, LAPD not in pursuit of this vehicle. This is a driver who's wanted for stealing that Subaru Forester from a dealership. And at this point in time, he's driving pretty calmly compared to earlier. And we understand, you said earlier that the LAPD helicopter was called off as well. So you just wonder if they have some information, they're going to try to pick him up at some later time.
And LAPD has been patrolling there in the helicopter along the beach. And when they do that, they fly pretty low. It's kind of remarkable. You can sort of almost see into the helicopter. They fly low up and down the coast here. And then, you know, obviously we're in Los Angeles now, or we're in Pacific Palisades now, with probably passing Will Rogers now on the left, which is just parking. And there have been a lot of people out there in that area, you know, in spite of everything going on with the pandemic. See, there's the parking. So that's the parking lot for Will Rogers, sort of the southbound portion of it. And then on the left-hand side is the entrance to the parking, where they have the little guard station there where they collect the money. And then he has the option of going right here, I believe. But just kind of hanging out, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. This is one of those situations where we're kind of broadcasting. This is just basically traffic now at this point in time because there's no chase going on. We do not know how many vehicles were pursuing, how many police vehicles were pursuing this suspect. We did not get a wide enough shot, but at this point in time, nobody is following as far as law enforcement goes, and neither is a helicopter. Our helicopter is, of course, watching. Maybe law enforcement is monitoring. I would assume that I know that they do monitor the stations, and we're the ones on it at this point in time here on CBSN at this hour now. It's coming up on 4:45 was when
He's backing up.
first call came down, so we're coming up on almost, well, it'll be 3 hours here in a little bit.
Try to back up just for a second there, just for a brief second, and rolling the window down. I don't know.
He's
See, smoking.
He's smoking. You called it.
That's what I thought I saw, but you really never know. So I just
He's
wanted to be
nervous
careful
enough to
there.
smoke.
Well, I don't know, or maybe calm enough. You know, I don't know. It's hard to really speculate and to get into the mind. But, you know, backing up, like I said, he only really has the option of making right turns. He can head northbound on PCH, Will Rogers on the left. You can turn into Will Rogers, but that parking lot gets pretty backed up when people are trying to visit. But the southbound part of the parking lot was pretty empty. So, you know, later in the day, people probably leaving the beach right now. It's a beautiful day out there, but there were, I'm sure, quite a few people there earlier. And he's just cruising northbound on PCH.
You wonder if he thinks that he is, you know, gamed the system here, and he's got a stolen car, and he's lighting a cigarette, and he feels like he's scot-free at this point in time.
You know, it's
I don't
possible
know.
that he knows that the media helicopter, you know, I don't know if he can discern between the media helicopter and law enforcement or not. And like I said, they fly a little bit higher up than some of the law enforcement airships do. They have the ability to fly a little bit lower and closer to the ground, and they can get on the loudspeaker and give instructions and whatnot. So it's possible that maybe he feels like nobody's following him at this point, or maybe, you know, he does know that there's a helicopter up there somewhere and doesn't know who it is. Sometimes we've seen people who are actually watching the feed of themselves being pursued through their phones or what have you. But, you know, hopefully we can only hope at this point that this comes to a safe and peaceful end, given everything we've seen so far.
Well, to liven things up, we'll show you the right-hand part of your screen there. That's going to be earlier tactics by the driver to get away from LAPD, going opposite direction, going through red lights, stop signs, over 100 miles an hour. In some cases, it was on surface streets, got onto a highway with a 110, and very briefly, some pretty aggressive driving. One time lost control and went onto a sidewalk, kind of weaving in and out of traffic, and pretty dangerous. That's getting on the 110 at that point in time, and then bailed out. It was only on the 110 for less than a half a mile. I think it got on the exit and got off at the next exit. So just to kind of show you a little bit about the behavior of this driver, at one point in time squeezing through the cars there real quickly, once again to try to elude police, but police backed off at about, my count, it was about 2 hours in. So this is a stolen vehicle chase that went on for 2 hours, and it was really dangerous. You can see some of the maneuvers on the right-hand part of your screen, but now since police have backed off, it appears that he's calmed down a little bit here and there. You mentioned backing up at an intersection, or at least was trying to, but rolling down the window, smoking a cigarette, and I don't know, waiting for what's to come.
Yeah, which we really don't know at this point. Like I said, police may feel confident enough that they can intercept this at some point, or that they may know who he is, where he lives, all of that. We really just don't know. But so heading up PCH northbound, we saw he crossed over West Sunset there. He's heading into Malibu there in the near Topanga. Really no sign of making any of those right turns that could bring him inland a bit and closer to a freeway. He's just been kind of hanging out on surface streets and not really doing much of anything.
So we know at one point in time a man and a woman went to this Santa Monica dealership and they approached this customer's vehicle. We don't know if the customer was accosted or at any point in time if anybody was assaulted or anything like that. We don't have any word of that, but we do understand this is a customer's car that was stolen from a Santa Monica dealership. A man and a woman were intercepted by LAPD just nearby at a Popeyes chicken restaurant, and then that's when the police chase started, and that was 4:45. It has weaved its way through a number of different cities and is now on the PCH. Why he's all the way up at Topanga Canyon now.
Right.
He's making pretty good time. There's not a whole lot of traffic. And in this stolen vehicle, at one point in time, we saw him roll the window down and a big puff of smoke came out. So he's smoking a cigarette and was at one point in time driving very reckless and didn't seem to have any sort of plan. But now I think his plan is just to continue north and see what's going to happen here.
I mean, Topanga Canyon would have been his opportunity to head inland, head toward the freeway, all the way up to the 101 if he wanted to, because right now it's just surface street driving. It's canyon driving, as you know, Jeff. It's PCH, which is a really nice drive, but obviously these are not the circumstances that you want to see somebody doing that. But right now, just a simple following, police no longer pursuing this driver of a stolen SUV in the Malibu area, heading northbound on PCH in the direction of the Malibu Pier. This is CBSN. We're live here. We're going to break off of this and tell you to go to KCAL 9 News at 8 o'clock as they will get the very latest on this pursuit of a stolen vehicle and the driver wanted by LAPD after they broke off this chase. And we'll send you back to regular programming. KCAL 9 News at 8 o'clock. We'll have the latest. A toddler battling end-stage kidney disease has finally gotten the lifeline that he needs after searching for months. And it turns out the match was much closer than anyone anticipated. CBS 2's Danya Backus has the story.
Oh, there he is! The first year of 3-year-old Maverick Moreau's life was filled with hospital and doctor's visits.
We were in the ER all the time.
Maverick was diagnosed with stage 5 chronic kidney disease. Both of his kidneys were too small, covered in cysts, and not functioning properly.
I feel like I failed him in some way in trying to, give him everything that he needed for a successful life.
He ended up on dialysis before his first birthday. His parents, Alexandra and Gary, were told it was a temporary but necessary solution and that a kidney transplant was inevitable.
Every single night he did 6 hours of dialysis.
For almost a year, while Maverick had his dialysis, his parents patiently waited for him to gain weight and grow in order to be eligible for a transplant. Then the search for a donor began. Both Maverick's parents were tested. They found out first that Gary was not a good match. Then came the good news. Alexandra had the opportunity to give her son the gift of life again.
I found out I was a match in November. He was listed in December.
Children, even small children like Maverick, can receive a kidney from an adult.
Dr. Rachel Est is the medical director of the kidney transplant program at Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
The main issue actually has to do with blood vessels and making sure that the blood vessels in their body is big enough to accommodate the blood vessels from the kidney of an adult.
It's been 7 months since Maverick's transplant, and he's thriving.
He's more verbal, he's more active.
The family is grateful for every moment they are now able to enjoy together. Danya Backus, CBS 2 News.
Well, the pandemic didn't stop organizers from celebrating a new facility dedicated to the well-being and care of senior citizens. Executive Director of PACE did the ceremonial ribbon cutting today at the Long Beach facility. It has areas for reading, meals, and fitness. The building has been in the works now for 3 years. PACE works as a day center so senior citizens can continue living in their own homes.
And now more than ever, given the pandemic and that nursing homes are having an outbreak of COVID-19, this is a safe alternative.
Because of the pandemic, the PACE program has shifted to remote home-based care, but they will bring clients into the clinic, they say, when necessary.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said today he wants to make sure small businesses get more financial help from the government. He testified before a congressional committee and urged lawmakers to extend PPP loans, but make sure they go to small businesses that desperately need them.